16 dead in protests marking Egypt revolution. A bleeding woman collapses on the ground. A police officer totes a weapon behind her. It's an image that spread rapidly on social media, and fueled furor among activists in Egypt who claimed it cast light on a devastating reality. For years after protests shaped the revolution that toppled Egypt's government. Activists say the woman, Shaimaa El-Sabbagh, was peacefully participating in a small protest commemorating the revolution in Cairo's Tahrir Square on Saturday when she was shot dead. Police deny using anything but tear gas as they quell protests. But El-Sabbagh's colleagues at the Socialist Popular Alliance Party say police fired shots and killed her. If there were any attempts to hold security officers accountable over the past 4 years, Shaimaa wouldn't have been killed, said Khaled Dawood, a spokesman for the Constitution Party. El-Sabbagh was one of at least 16 people killed in protests over the weekend at events marking the 4th anniversary of Egypt's revolution, officials say. 15 were killed Sunday, including a police conscript, according to the Ministry of Health. 2 of those killed were men trying to plant a bomb in Tahrir province, ministry spokesman Hassan Abdel Ghaffar said. It was not clear Sunday night how many people had been arrested, because some were released on the spot or shortly afterward, the Interior Ministry said. 8 journalists covering the Sunday protests were among those detained, the Association for Freedom of Thought and Expression reported. Meanwhile, the Prosecutor General has launched an investigation into El-Sabbagh's death and called policemen on duty that day in for questioning, along with 6 Socialist Popular Alliance Party members arrested at the Saturday march. Elmi El-Marghani, spokesman for the party, called El-Sabbagh's death an assassination that sends a message against political and partisan life. Tumultuous times 4 years ago on Police Day, the national holiday celebrated January 25. Thousands of Egyptians marched to protest security violations. The protests quickly gained momentum as clashes with security forces left hundreds dead and culminated in the ouster of then-President Hosni Mubarak. Almost all the police officers implicated in the 2011 violence were acquitted. Last November, a Cairo court dismissed charges against Mubarak and acquitted his interior minister and top security aides on charges related to the protesters' deaths. Thousands have been killed and thousands more arrested since 2011 as local and international rights groups decried the impunity with which security forces operated. The toll dramatically increased in the summer of 2013 following the removal of ex-President Mohamed Morsi in the wake of another wave of mass protests. The crackdown on his supporters in August 2013 left at least 1,000 killed. Many of the famous activists associated with the original January 25 demonstrations are now behind bars. Rights groups have scaled down operations as the government announced the activation of an old law that would restrict activities and funding. Those who marched with El-Sabbagh on Saturday chose to demonstrate the day before January 25 so they don't get confused or lumped with the Muslim Brotherhood protests, Dawood said. Egypt's government has said the surge in terrorist attacks have forced stricter measures, as hundreds of army and police personnel were killed in bombings and shootings. The Interior Ministry said in a statement to state media last December that it had arrested 10,000 rioters, saboteurs and terrorists in 2014 alone. The opposition has consistently condemned these attacks but says the regime is using terrorism as an excuse to impose more restrictions.